Well, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. My name is Chris DiFurio. Hello. I am the host for this show, of course, and I would invite you to subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts or watch podcasts, as we do video as well on YouTube. And also, if you have any questions or comments on things, or you're interested in consulting and coaching that we offer at Keys to the Shop, reach out, chris@keystotheshop.com. Now, today's episode of Keys to the Shop is a special live edition from CoffeeFest in Portland, Oregon. This happened this June, and so we got to, as normal, sit down in the booth with a few different presenters. We do this every CoffeeFest. I have been doing CoffeeFest for 20 some odd years now, and it is a great place to go for getting resourced in the world of coffee retail. So go to coffeefest.com. So if you needed an excuse to go experience some great coffee culture, but also learn a lot about working a coffee bar and owning and operating and managing one, then go ahead and get to coffeefest.com. Check out the speakers. Get a all access pass, get a regular pass, whatever it is, bring yourself and your team. You're really going to love it. So again, go to coffeefest.com to learn more. So today's episode, we're going to be talking with 4 guests. We're going to start with Laila Ghambari over at Gilder Coffee. And also, of course, by Laila. Laila's been a guest on the show before as a consultant and is still a consultant, but also now coffee shop and coffee roastery owner. That is Gilder Coffee in Portland, Oregon. So that's how we're going to focus our attention with that interview, that we're going to start there, talking about the taking on of an existing business and the ownership and managing to apply the principles you might teach as a consultant also to your own business. So it's a very valuable conversation. We're then going to go to Emily Smith over at Hacea Coffee Source, and we're going to be talking about green coffee sourcing with Emily. And Emily's been in the business for quite a long time and has a lot of wisdom to share around logistics and relationships, especially. So then we're going to be talking with co-founder and CEO of Futura Coffee Roasters, Sebastián Villamizar. We sat down with Sebastian and got to talk about coffee farming and relationships and what we need to understand about the current state of coffee farming and what we can do in our area of the coffee supply chain to create better opportunities and partner with folks that are doing great work on the ground at the source, which is the coffee farm. And then we have Jie Jaing, who is the founder of Less and More Coffee in Portland, Oregon. And we get to talk about signature beverages and specialty drinks and translating a story into a beverage. So fun way to end that. Now, of course, we're starting with Laila Ghambari. Laila has been in specialty coffee for nearly 2 decades. Coffee is more than a career, though, for her, because she grew up in and on the counters of coffee bars for her father started Cherry Street Coffee in Seattle, Washington. And so that was just in her life's blood, growing up in Seattle alongside that long-standing family coffee company. So over the years, Laila has earned many titles. She's earned the title of United States Barista Champion. She's been on the Barista Guild Executive Council, and she has led educational strategies for some of the biggest names in specialty coffee out there, managed multi-million-dollar operations with teams of 100 plus people across multiple markets. And now she runs By Laila, which is a consulting company that she's been running for a while now. And then also is a owner of a coffee shop and roastery called Gilder Coffee in Portland, Oregon. And so today's episode, we're going to talk with Laila all about that transition from a rich history of cafe management and operations and even consulting to now taking the owner's role directly, and the transition between ownership from previous owners to current owners, but also the journey of what it looks like to step into this role, having so much experience already. And spoiler alert, it's not without its challenges, even for somebody as well-versed in the ways of coffee operations as Laila. So that should be encouraging to you, but you're going to get a lot of insights from Laila here. So let's get right to it. Here's our first interview for CoffeeFest Portland with Laila Ghambari.
Hey, Laila.
Hey,
I'm glad to have you at the booth.
thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I want to talk to you about what's been happening recently. We had you on the show and we're talking about consulting. We're talking
Yep.
about operational excellence.
Yep.
And that's something you're known for
Yeah.
throughout the industry. And now one of the things that you've taken on recently is ownership of a new, old coffee brand, but now
Right.
you're running it.
Yes.
Right? So
Yes.
when did this happen?
Yeah, so when we talked, I had just started consulting. I feel like I was like maybe 6 months something into it. I'm not exactly sure. Went from a full-time job to full-time consulting. And in that time period, there was a local coffee company that was for sale. Their name was Gilder Cafe and Junior's Roasted Coffee. It was 2 cafes, roasting company with a cafe. So 3 cafes total and a roasting company. And decided to buy it because why not? You know? I got nothing else to do.
As you
Just
do,
run a
yeah.
company.
Yeah.
Well, and honestly, it was just like the perfect situation because after working corporate jobs and for years and years and years, obviously I'd built a certain lifestyle in terms of just like I own a home, I own a car and all that sort of stuff. And I always wanted to start my own business, but I knew I couldn't really like bootstrap it from the very start necessarily because I have a mortgage and I have this and that. And so when I'm working for other coffee companies, starting your own coffee company in the background didn't always feel like the right thing to do. So once I started consulting, I was like, well, this is my opportunity to maybe start working on that coffee business I always wanted to do. But then this business was for sale and looked into the numbers, really profitable business.
Yeah.
They were just ready to get out after 7+ years of running it. 4 owners, which is a lot of owners for a coffee company.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they had 4 owners. And so there was just time to let it go. And really profitable business. That was a number that we could afford to step into and had the skill set to be able to step into running 3 cafes and a roastery. And it allowed for me to, be able to pay myself a salary right away instead of having to kind of, bootstrap it. So it was just the perfect situation. And they agreed. They were looking for someone that was really going to take it and usher it forward. And they had other offers that they turned down. And then when our name got thrown in the ring, they were like, yeah, let's do this.
That's so cool. It's such a good connection because they know you knew them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, and this is something that, you're expressing something that a lot of people's origin story, that is they take over an existing brand.
Yes.
Somebody is wanting to get out for whatever reason, but they step in. And the first thing that they always talk about is how do we make it ours, but also continue the good stuff that everyone loves. How do you go about that with a brand like Gilder? And knowing as much as you know, that's a little paralysis in my mind too. Like you're a consultant, you can help all these different brands. Now it's yours.
Now it's mine.
So how do you choose to apply those things?
Yeah. So, oddly enough, in my career, I've actually become quite skilled in merger and acquisitions, oddly enough. I worked for Stumptown under both of their acquisitions. And when I worked, the company that I worked at before I started consulting was an acquisition company. So they had bought many brands, folded them into their brand. And I was there for the times when the companies were purchased. And so I'd learned what to do and what not to do, what works and what doesn't work.
Nice.
And so thankfully, through the purchasing process, Mike and Karen and Toby, the owners, they were very open to whatever kind of what we wanted to do to make sure that the flow and the transition was really positive for their team. So I laid out sort of like, this is how I think we need to communicate to be very respectful to the team, very respectful to the customers, and give us each that chance to communicate this the way that we want to. So we laid out a really clear plan of how we were going to do that, when we were going to do that. And so we had what I would consider a perfect transition from one owner to the next. All of the employees stayed on through that transition. All of them felt heard and seen and understood what was happening. We communicated what payroll changes and insurance changes and all the things really, really well, so that when the store closed and it was their last day and the store opened and it was our first day, it felt absolutely seamless. I was really proud of that because that was a big undertaking. And then from there, it was really us. So then how do we take on this business that has a legacy in Portland? And if you've never heard of Gilder, they were a Princess Bride themed cafe. So we knew we weren't going to keep the Princess Bride, and they didn't care about that. That was just, they knew that wasn't going to probably stay. And it was 2 companies. And so we knew we were going to eventually need to make it 1 company because we knew that 2 was too hard to manage.
Yep.
And so how do you take this kind of darling Princess Bride themed cafe, exceptional coffee roasting company that's known for their specific buying practice and their specific roast profiles, and turn it into something new without losing all that was there?
Yeah.
And it took us a year. We just transitioned to Gilder Coffee Company, the whole thing, 3 cafes and a roasting company, Gilder Coffee Company. We really, we bought the brands. So Juniors and Gilder, we were like, which one feels right? We took some time. Juniors felt too generic. Gilder had a real positive word connotation to it. So we stuck with it. And we feel really happy with the way that transitioned, and we just kind of slow rolled it out. And a year later, we're fully transitioned, and the cafes look and feel like different. Some people don't like that. Some people love the Princess Bride, but that's gone. But then we have all these people that are like, we love this. This feels like what it was always meant to be. This feels like the right transition. They understand it better because a lot of people didn't know, like, oh, do you roast your own coffee? And we're like, there's a roaster right there. But it was a different name, so it was confusing. So everybody, like, it feels really good.
The intuition you have for discerning what is something that needs to be changed at this time in your career, you have a really good intuitive eye for that. And you can do that better than a lot of people. And what you said was it didn't feel any different when you all took over.
Yeah.
And I think that if there was a new person getting into coffee, they would want it to feel different. Like as soon as we take over, well, it's a new boss now.
Right.
It's whatever I want. And that's maybe a mistake. Well, it is a mistake. But you say this was a sign that we did it well, that it didn't feel like a big change.
Well, and I think it depends on the situation because we bought a profitable business. So if you are buying a business that's not profitable and struggling, then maybe you need to make a quick change, right? We didn't need to make a quick change. And I knew that rocking the boat was going to cause more problems than good. And so the slow roll approach made more sense. Let's make strategic changes over time so that people almost don't even notice that it's different. That's a lot, when you make an approach to changing your pricing, instead of just, waiting 3 years and making a $1 price change, twice a year minimal price change, people don't even notice. It's like, try to do changes that maybe people don't notice when things are going well. So I think it was just being strategic. And I was picking my battles. What was the most important thing to change first? What were the things that were the most impactful, and what could wait? Because I also am learning how to run a new business, and I need to make sure that I'm not stretching myself too thin.
Yeah, sure. Which would be tempting to do because you've probably got a lot of ideas, but who is it you're thinking of when you're making these changes? I mean, you've got customers, you've got baristas, you got yourselves because you bought this company. So how do you know that this is me and maybe I should put this on the back burner or this is for the good of the staff and everybody involved?
So first and foremost, for sure, the most important person that I was considering was our staff. I think our customers, we have a unique setup where we have 2 cafes that are more neighborhood cafes, and then 1 cafe that's actually inside Powell City of Books, which is the biggest tourist attraction in Portland. And so most of those customers are not regulars. They're coming for the first time anyway. So I wasn't as concerned about the customer experience from that store perspective. But it was the employees. What is the experience they're having? And so making thoughtful, I mean, this is what I talk about is operational excellence. If I'm going to change something, there's 15 steps that need to happen before I'm actually making that change. I'm considering it. I'm asking for feedback. I'm considering all the other things that might affect when I make those changes. I'm creating the documentation, the SOP. I'm communicating it. Then I'm rolling it out. Maybe we're doing some practice in between there. So that alone could take 2 to 3 months, depending on what it is. Now, sometimes you got to make quick changes and you need to be able to be thoughtful and roll things out quickly. But I just wasn't, again, we had a profitable business. So it wasn't like I need to make quick changes right now. I need to be thoughtful. What is the most strategic? What are the areas of the business that I need to make changes in? And then let's focus on that, leave the other stuff for later. And now it's a year has gone by and we've made almost all of those changes. And I would say that was probably as fast as we possibly could have or should have gone. It could have been 3 years, honestly. Like, it didn't need to happen that quickly, but we were capable of doing that in a thoughtful way because of the experience I have.
Yeah, so capable of doing it in that amount of time because you considered all the variables.
Exactly. I've been there and done that, so I knew what, if we change this, we're gonna have to do X, Y, and Z. So I have that stuff already in motion, and I'm working on these things. Or before I can change that, I actually need to change this. So I'm gonna focus on changing this, let that settle, then I can change that, or whatever those situations might be.
What is the difference between being a general manager, operations manager, and a leader within a business that you don't own to now you're the owner? Is there any kind of psychological or emotional or just anything different about this in your experience?
This has been, I will say, I grew up with entrepreneur parents. I've seen my dad running a business my whole life. So I had I knew exactly what I was walking into. So there was definitely no like, wow, I didn't realize it was going to be this hard. I knew exactly how hard it was going to be. But what has been the biggest, I think, growth for me was just understanding how much support I had before. There was departments that did everything, right? I didn't do payroll. Wasn't the HR person, all that sort of stuff. Now I'm everything. And I'm also all of the weights on my shoulders. When I'm working for someone else, if something goes wrong, marketing is going to take care of that. And the CEO is the one who's really going to take the heat, whatever the situation is. I'm responsible for every single person that works for me. I'm responsible for every customer that walks in that door. And I'm responsible to my business and to my family to make sure all of those things are okay. And that is a huge weight of responsibility that I take very, very seriously. And I think that heaviness was maybe what I wasn't as prepared for. I knew that it was going to be hard work. I don't think I was prepared for the emotional heaviness of it.
Yeah.
And that gets easier, but it's been a year of growth to learn how much of my time and energy I can give to the business before it really takes a toll on like me personally, on my family, all of those types of things. But your work just never stops. You always have to be, for me, I mean, there's a difference between leadership and great leadership, and I want to be a great leader. So I'm putting pressure on myself for greatness. And so my expectations are just incredibly high. So I'm always thinking about things. So I've lost a lot of sleep. That's what I would say. I've lost a lot of sleep this year.
Nice. What does it do for the difference between you with I'm thinking about decisiveness, agility in your role as an operations manager. You have the departments. You can make those decisions. It's like, this is what I think. Now it feels like maybe it's slower to make these kind of decisions, or at least
it's faster.
It's faster
because I get to make the calls, right? And decisiveness is, I think, maybe one of my superpowers within a business ownership.
Nice.
I am incredibly decisive. Very. I always say I'm just guessing, but the reality is it is a very, very educated guess for the most part. I mean, sometimes it's not, and sometimes I need to ask other people for support, and my network has been a huge part of that. When I'm like, I don't know, I ask 5 people, what would you do? And I get that feedback from them. But for the most part, I've done this for a long time, and so I'm making a really strong educated guess about what I know to be the truth about a situation. I make that decision, and I don't have to ask somebody else. I don't have to wait for somebody else, but it's then on me. So how fast I go is up to me. So if I've made a decision, how quickly that rolls out, I could do it tomorrow and it could go poorly. And baristas are saying, what's going on? I don't know how to do this. There's no button in the register. There's this and that. Or I can say, okay, it's going to take me 5 days, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this and this, and then I'm going to roll this out. But I don't have to say, so-and-so, you need to do this, and so-and-so, here's the timeline for that, and so-and-so, it's all me, right? So it's really what my bandwidth is, and I'm very good at multitasking, so...
Yeah, good. One last question for you. How do you bridge the gap between the academic exercise of thinking about the operations, thinking about the ideas, and being in relationship with people together, doing the ideas?
Yeah. So that's great. I would say there is going to be waves, or I was talking to one of my friends in business as well, and he was saying we're in the turtle lane right now. And I was like, yeah, I'm in the turtle lane. Like, we're going slow in terms of certain things because I don't have a team yet. We're still a really small company, and I wear many, many hats. My ultimate goal is to have a team of people around me that I really trust, that can help me make decisions, that I trust to help me make decisions. And sorry, redo the question one more time. I just forgot what we were going
the gap between ideation and the thought of it and the actual doing.
Yes. So now that I'm starting to build a team, I'm getting the opportunity to get input from other people and their involvement. And that to me is the best case scenario, when it's like, hey, we want to grow sales X, Y, what are we going to do? It's not just I got to sit down and I got to figure out what that is. It's my team is involved in that process, and they've got ideas and then we start to execute that in different ways. And that's when I think things actually get faster in a certain way, because I kind of am like, I wish I didn't know as much as I know, because it makes me feel anxious all the time. So I'm like, I'm just not going fast enough. I'm not doing enough. But it's just because I know all the things I could be doing, and I don't have the capacity to do all those things. As I start to build a team, I start to gain capacity. So it's interesting. It's like more people doesn't necessarily make the decisions faster, but more people make the execution faster. So they allow for me to come with an idea, hear their input. Okay, now let's roll it out. Let's make it happen. And you can do it, and you can do it, and you can do it, instead of, okay, all of that's on me now. I just came up with this idea. I think it's great. I know it's going to grow our revenue, but dang, I have to do X, Y, and Z still. And so how am I going to get time to do that? Like, as an example, I wanted online ordering. We haven't rolled out online ordering. It's been a year, because I just don't have the time to do it. But now I'm hiring someone that's going to be more in charge of supporting with operations, and I can have them do it, and they could get it done in 2 weeks. Like, it's just those types of things. It's like what gets put on the back burner, what gets supported. So as I build my team, execution can happen faster. Ideation's there. It's happening all the time. I got a laundry list. But execution, I only am one person. And so, yeah,
that makes sense. And on the flip side of it, and I love what you're talking about, like building and involving people. It's a team. When you don't do things, they'll trust that there's a reason why. Like, trust is built.
Yeah.
So if you're in the turtle lane, as you said, we're not going fast enough might be felt by other people too.
Right.
But you've got so many wins, or at least goodwill through this process, that even if something I want doesn't get done, it's a good reason.
Yeah.
Right.
And I would say that is to me, from my experience of working in the corporate world and now being a small business owner, I would say that's the number one thing that I feel is a massive difference between working in corporate and working for small business, is that when I worked corporate, when there was an idea, it was like, needs to be done tomorrow.
Yeah.
This needs to get done. This is what we're doing. Move forward with it. There's no pause. There's no stop. There's no reassess. I can say when my employee says, oh, I don't think we can do this on time, like, this is feeling really pressure, I'm like, push it back a week. Fine. Like, that's fine. Just push it back a week. I have no problem with that. Like, as a mother of 3 kids running 2 businesses, I'm always fine to push it back a week. Like, it's okay. And also just like, yes, we're moving forward, and we're going to keep moving forward. I feel like one of the things I am learning very quickly in this last year is there's what I want to do, and then there's like what can be done. And no one else knows what those timelines are. So sometimes I'm like, we wanted to have our bags rolled out by January 1. We rolled them out in April. No one knew that was the timeline, right? No one had any idea that was the timeline. I'm feeling like a failure. No one else has any idea that it took us 4 or 5
We
extra
just saw
months.
the rollout. I said, man, that's really cool. That's all we thought.
Exactly. So I have to remind myself, I'm the only person that knows these deadlines, which also means I can push them wherever I want to push them. And I want my team to know that. So when they say, yeah, we can get that done, I trust they can get it done. And when they say, I need an extra week, have an extra week. Let's get it done, because I trust you're going to finish it. And the difference between getting it done on January 1 and April 1, in the reality of things, didn't make that much of an impact in the grand scheme of like what my big vision is. Doesn't matter.
Nice. Well said.
Yeah.
Laila, thank you so much for being here. I guess, where can people find more about Gilder?
Oh, go to gildercoffee.com. We just got our new website up. Our new bags are absolutely stunning. You can order coffee online or come into our cafes in Portland. And I'm really, really proud of what we've done. So yeah, check it out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I hope that you enjoyed that conversation with Laila. Really great insights from just firsthand experience. And if you want more information and want to look into both companies by Laila and also Gilder Coffee, you can just go to lailaghambari.com. And then also for Gilder, go to gildercoffee.com and stay plugged into everything going on there. And huge thank you to Laila for joining us on the show. Now we're going to transition to Emily Smith, who is the relationship representative at Hacea Coffee Source. And Emily has been in the coffee industry for over a decade, is working in areas of retail management, coffee roasting, green buying, green coffee quality control, and sales. For the last 6 years, Emily has worked in green sales, helping roasters build these meaningful relationships with coffee farmers. And this is why this is a perfect time to talk with someone like Emily about green coffee sourcing and relationships. As a, in the past, Emily has served as a relationship or a representative for this SCA and has helped board positions for the Coffee Roasting Guild. She currently serves on the board of She Is Coffee, which is an organization that supports equity and opportunity for women across the industry. Now, about the company that she represents here, Hacea Coffee Source is a company that is a small importer that's focusing on economic sustainability, transparency, and quality for roasters of all sizes. And so in this conversation with Emily, we get to talk about what green sourcing looks like today, some basics, some intermediate level insights, as well as how we should be approaching this from a relational point of view. Emily brings a lot of experience. And so what I find is when someone has this kind of broad and also deep experience in an area, they all have this, they just kind of exude and speak wisdom from knowing these things worked or didn't work. And when given the opportunity to give advice, it just becomes something that we obviously should pay attention to. So here now is my conversation with Emily Smith.
Emily.
Yeah.
Welcome to Keys to the Shop.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So as far as long as I've known you in coffee, you've been in green coffee.
Yeah.
It's been a while. How long has it been?
So I've been in green coffee about 6.5 years, maybe 7 years. Yeah. And then before doing green coffee, I worked doing roasting. I was a head green coffee buyer for a small company in Portland. I did QC, green coffee QC for a really large roastery in the Seattle area, and education and different like one-off things all the way through.
And you also worked at a co-roasting space as well?
So
for a little bit?
Yeah, I did. I used to help with the education program over at the Buckman Coffee Factory.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
I did that for quite a few years and helped onboard a lot of roasters and give them their first like walkthrough of like how to not set everything on fire and all those important topics. So I did that for a long time. And actually now today, while I work for Hacea, I go and do 2 days a week over at the Buckman Coffee Factory, kind of holding office hours and meeting with roasters. And
yeah.
Yeah.
So in your coffee career, understanding coffee now down to the level of the green coffee, that comes in, I don't know if it comes in waves, your understanding of it, because, as a barista, you think, oh, that's a fascinating, the exotic world of green coffee, mm-hmm. And now it seems like you know enough about it to really train people to take it on themselves, that you're educating them on green coffee here at the show. And it must feel, I don't think it's easy, but I just feel like, man, you've got to have such an in-depth sense of the trade of it, what to look for in green coffee, that your eyes as a barista back then, or even just getting into it for the first time, it was like, this is kind of scary.
Yeah, I mean, so I always operate off of the premise that all the knowledge that I have was a gift that somebody else gave to me.
Ooh.
So that is, somebody gave me their time, they answered emails, they took my phone calls, they let me come and like shadow them while they were, so yeah. Everything that I know is not mine. It's what somebody has given to me. And I feel like my role in coffee is to pass all of that on, kind of collect it and pass it on to the next group of people, or to just anybody where it helps good people make good coffee. So that's kind of like my whole operating, like how I run things. So here at the show, I'm teaching a class on green coffee buying, and then also teaching a roasting class. And then I'll be doing the same down in LA, CoffeeFest LA.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So when you teach a coffee buying class or you teach about green coffee, there's obviously a lot to know about this. People spend careers in this area. Yeah. So here you have 45 minutes or so
Yeah.
to teach a class on it. How do you choose what to actually teach?
It's such a great question because I'm pretty sure I tried to cram 85 minutes worth of content into my to my 45 minutes.
Same.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it really just, my class today about green coffee buying was really the basics of being a good customer, right? Like everybody in the supply chain, these are partnerships that you build for getting coffee. So there's a partnership between the roaster and the importer. There's a partnership between the importer and the producer. And that's a two-way street, right? So it's not just the importer providing excellent customer service to the roaster, but it's also the roaster being a good customer, right? So we can work in partnership to accomplish the goal of getting that roaster great coffee.
Yep.
So I kind of approach it from that stance. So, the big things I wanted to cover today were, most important thing, communicate promptly. If you get samples, tell your importing partner who you got, or like what you thought of the samples. If you are looking for something, tell your importer what you're looking for so they can help like guide you, right? Like there's so many times I've gotten in my career requests of like, hey, what's new? What do you got? Like, okay, but what are you looking for, right? Like, I got a lot of stuff. I got a lot of coffee. Well, what are you looking for? Like, we work together on that. So those were like some of the main topics. And then we just went step by step. It was like crash course, step by step of placing an order from figuring out what you need to getting the offer list and then information that the importer needs to place an order.
Yeah.
And kind of what the importer is expecting, right? That communication and you being able to that you're working together. Right.
Yeah.
It's not just a transaction. It's not like you're going to a grocery store and you're picking a coffee off the shelf and that's your coffee, right? Like we are partners together, hopefully for many, many years in building a relationship and growing your coffee program.
So when you're teaching these things, you're saying that communication is important.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming it's also because communication doesn't happen. And that's the importer has to sort of get you to do it because they need certain information from you to make it worth your, because you'll judge the importer as being, oh, they're not a really good importer, but maybe it was because you weren't upholding your end to communicate well.
I think that most of the negative experiences that a roaster will have with an importer come from a miscommunication.
Okay.
And from unclear communication.
Yeah.
So maybe that is not being specific about how they needed that coffee to be delivered, that they needed a lift gate, then they needed an appointment, right?
Yeah.
Or them not understanding that once the coffee leaves a warehouse and gets on a truck, it's actually that roaster is legally responsible for any damage that happens to that coffee. And anything that the importer is doing is a service to help them have a good experience, like booking freight or, helping to file an insurance claim. But like, that's something that's a communication, like that they should be really clear on expectations. Or also when a roaster orders coffee and they weren't clear about, there wasn't communication about where that coffee was, that the importer assumed that when it said, OAK on the offer sheet, that they assumed that roaster would know that that's in Oakland. And maybe that roaster thought, actually, it's like at Costa Oro and I can just go and grab it. So having those kind of like trying to work through those levels of communication is really important for a successful relationship.
And at first, it doesn't seem like an operator would look for a relationship. They just want a transaction to say, like, I need green coffee. I'm going to be roasting, so I need green coffee. So that's the thing that I want to make sure people understand is that importers are looking for relationships.
Yes.
Because it's good for their business to do so. But from your vantage point, what kind of an impact does that have on the farmers themselves?
So we are a little bit unique in that we keep almost no spot inventory. So we purchase our coffee based on what we understand needs to be from the roaster, and then we purchase. That's how we decide what we're going to get from the farmer and how much we're going to get. We work with a lot of farms where we buy 100% of what they produce, and oftentimes that 100% of what they produce does not line up with what the demand is. Usually, demand is larger than what the farmer can actually produce.
Yeah.
So the relationship side also works in that we reserve coffees for roasters. Like if you bought a coffee last year, you're like first on the list and we reserve that for you this year. So that's another piece of the relationship part, like us looking out for them. Like we've got your back on your favorite coffee with your favorite producer.
Yeah.
But our producers that we work with also know that we are going to treat in the same way that we try to have this amazing relationship with the roasters. We are going to be treating the producers in the same sort of manner with respect and dignity, holding to whatever kind of commitments we make, and also treating them like a viable business who makes a margin.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many coffee producers have no idea about margin because they've never made a margin off of their coffee.
They don't have to. It's not a thing. Yeah.
Well, and it should be, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so, but having that where we're all treating each other like businesses and we're all invested in the success and see each other as a valuable piece is really important. So, in general, I think it's bringing the same ethos of how we operate with roasters and bringing that to the same relationships that we have with producers is really important to us.
Let me ask you this about people who are just getting started roasting, who are experienced in retail already. Mm-hmm. Now they've said we've invested a lot into a roastery, and we need to come up with a starting program of purchasing green coffee. Now, some would say, okay, buy all your coffee from just one importer, or you can have a variety of importers. Where do you land on that? Is it necessarily better or worse or not really relevant to say, one, just everyone goes to this big importer and I get all my coffee from there? That just makes it easier for me to think about it. Or there's tiny importers, there's mid-size, there's really socially active and very sustainable. How does this look for somebody that's just starting in the roasting business?
So the first piece of advice I would give to anybody who's just starting in the roasting business is the money or the beans that are in the bags sitting in your roastery, that is cash money. That's a bag of cash. You need to be really careful about how you use that. So if you work with within coffee, green coffee, it's all about scale, right? The larger scale you have, the quicker you're turning over coffee, the bigger shipments you're able to get, the more you can save on logistics, save on your costs. So every roaster's goal, I think, is always to kind of scale up to the point where they're minimizing the extra costs, right? That they're working in the most financially efficient manner that they can. A small roaster who's just starting needs to have that same mindset that you are going to be mindful and careful about where you invest your money. And if you look around your roastery and you see bags and bags of coffee that are open, that should be a red flag. Those are piles of money sitting in your roastery, and that's a good sign that somebody is overbuying. And one of the problems that can happen with working with multiple importers is that you're trying to scale up your logistics, so you're buying more coffee, and then you end up, it's not in line with how much you're roasting. The other piece of advice that I would give to new roasters, and I talked about in my class, is that the first thing that you should do is identify before you go to order coffee, and at the very beginning, is you should identify what your values and goals are for your coffee program. Because the values and goals that you have should also align with the values and goals of your importing partners.
Oh, okay.
So we are a very niche, small, like boutique importer. Our values, I would say, are most closely aligned with cup quality, sustainability, and producer relationship. Those are our big three. So if a roaster comes to me and they're looking for, and their values are price, they're going to probably have a hard time finding things that I have to offer, right? Like they can love me as much as they want and want to work with me, but that's not what we specialize in. And I would point them in the direction of another coffee importer.
Yeah.
But if your values are aligned with the importing partner, that means that they have a supply chain that meets your needs. They know how to market that coffee. They know how to anticipate your needs and find you those great coffees. And that's where they become a partner. And it's not just transactional. You're actually able to leverage their resources and their skill set in order to grow your own coffee revenue.
Yeah. Back to what you were saying earlier, you kind of have to know what your values are in order to find somebody whose values match your own.
Yes.
Yeah, that's communication.
Yeah.
So some of that work that you need to do beforehand is probably going to make your search for an importer and the purchasing of green coffee more successful than if you just say, here I am, take me, importers.
Or like Google search coffee importers or like green coffee, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So last question. If you had one piece of advice to give a roaster who is looking to level up the way that they purchase green coffee in order to make a big difference in the way farmers are compensated. There's a lot of things, and maybe this is an unfair last question because it's a big one. We hear a lot of words like relationship coffee and all the certifications and everything else. We want to do good. And we want it, but the problem is that we want to do good fast. So how do we do good in a way that's meaningful?
So, I mean, I'd actually challenge that and say, I think there are a lot of coffee roasters or people buying coffee who aren't ready to put their money where their mouth is. All of that costs money, right? And it's one thing to think about how nice it would be that farmers are paid more. It's another thing to cut them a check and pay them that money.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So one thing that I would, it's good to also know there are different scales of coffee farming. There are farmers who grow coffee and sell it to a local mill, and they just are picking cherry and selling it. And and so those might become big, giant commodity regional coffees. There are farmers who are focused on specialty coffee. There are farmers who are growing Robusta coffee, right? Like all of these different things, these are all parts of our supply chain, and they should all be valued, but they all have their own piece. So I don't want to shame anybody about like how they're buying their coffee or what they're doing. But I would say if your goal is to make an impact in the life of a farmer, then you have to come to terms with the reality of how much coffee costs to produce.
Yeah.
And you have to find an importer who is transparent about how they're paying for their coffee.
There you go. Good. That's good. Good advice. So, Emily, where can we learn more about Hacea and your work with them?
Yeah, so you can check out haceacoffee.com. We offer coffee all the way from like stuff for hobby and home roasters. And then we also have a wholesale reach out, and we can get you connected for full size bags and more coffee.
Nice. Thanks, Emily.
Okay. Thanks so much.
All right, everyone. Well, great conversation on green sourcing, and the wisdom, again, is so appreciated from Emily. If you want more information about Hacea Coffee Source, go to the website. You can find that at haceacoffee.com. Of course, you can find all of this information in the show notes. All the links and everything else are living in the show notes. So I encourage you to take advantage of that. Now, we're going to be talking with Sebastián Villamizar, who is the co-founder and CEO of Futura Coffee Roasters. He is a business manager with over 10 years of experience in the specialty coffee industry. He's co-founded and led companies across the coffee chain, from production projects and green coffee commercialization to direct to consumer retail. And he's also represented Colombia twice in the World Brewers Cup stage. And so he is a country champion in brewing coffee, as well as a champion of the coffee farm itself and the coffee industry throughout his companies. And now with Futura Coffee Roasters, he is creating the next generation. He and his partners and those he is representing are all part of this conversation, this reorganization of what it looks like to have more power on the side of the farmer in the supply chain. So you've got the coffee being roasted on site and shipped globally. You've got amazing relationships and transparency. And this is one of those things that I think gives us hope for what can become commonplace in the industry, where we talk a lot about the equity or the power difference between consuming and purchasing countries. And then you get examples like what Sebastian and the folks at Futura Coffee Roasters are doing. It really provides a window into what is possible when people get together and have the courage of their convictions and build a model around it that helps evolve the way that we think about these things. So if you are interested in the idea of advancing the coffee industry, and I think that should be all of us, then I think you'll be interested in what Sebastian has to share here today. Our video cuts a little bit short at the end, but the audio is completely fine, so stick around as that goes. But if you're watching the episode, otherwise, let's get right to it. Here now is my conversation with Sebastián Villamizar of Futura Coffee Roasters.
Welcome to the table here at Keys to the Shop.
Thanks for having me, Chris. It's a real honor. I've been a big fan. I've been hearing a lot of your content and interviews, and it's always very exciting. So I'm extremely happy to be here.
Oh, thank you for being here. So I want to invite you to give a little bit of a story of how you came, like right now you're one of the co-founders, co-owners of Futura Coffee Roasters, and you were on a panel talking about sustainability, which obviously is a huge topic that you have a very strong message about. And you work that message out through what you do in your companies. How did you get to that point, though? Where have you come from in coffee up till today?
Thank you, Chris. Well, I started in coffee more or less 10 years ago.
Yeah.
In a really cool phase of a farm that was founded by my cousin and his wife, Felipe and Elisa, and it's called La Palma El Tucán, a very, I think, nowadays very known farm. And
yeah.
I started with this project when they were just starting, and we were starting to look at sales, right? Where were we gonna sell the coffees of La Palma El Tucán? What was the ideal market? So I joined them to start working on the business development strategy around what we were gonna produce, where were we gonna sell it, how we were gonna sell it. So I started in green coffee in production, basically. And then that was my first steps into coffee, and I fell in love with what we were doing. And from there, I joined them as a partner in many beautiful projects that we developed at Origin. So then we started another wet mill in the north of Colombia called Del Agua. We started a wet mill in Panama called Creativa, and a farm which is called Flying Pumas that now just recently is going to participate in the Best of Panama auction. So we're very proud of that. Then we started Equation, which is our importing company. So we sell green coffee. And then we started Futura, which I think is the sort of the evolution, right? From all the way from coffee producers, exporters, and now roasting and serving our coffees as well as coffees from other amazing friends and producers with whom we work. So that's been my coffee journey. And then I was very involved in the competition scene as well. So I had the opportunity to represent Colombia 2 times in the World Brewers Cup. So I competed in that. I learned about competitions just as a means to understand better my customers. So we used to receive a lot of people that were competing, trying to source coffee. So I was very intrigued about that. So I decided to compete, and that's been a little bit about my coffee journey.
That's great. What a good overview, though.
Yeah.
So your involvement in the industry is not just being educated as a, now I'm working in coffee and coffee is interesting. You're setting the pace for a lot of people with the product, with the green coffee, with how coffee is brewed on the competition stage, with how coffee is roasted and presented to the consumer. What in the last 10 years do you take away from all of this? A very, you're pushing the envelope for what people understand about coffee through what you're doing at all stages of the production chain. So what have you walked away with as the most important element that breeds success for all players in the value chain?
So I think one of the things that has driven us the most is our purpose, which we've defined in many different workshops, meetings with my partners, and we define our why as our goal is to help small-scale coffee farmers transition into regenerative agriculture.
Okay.
For many reasons that we, of course, can discuss, but that is our higher purpose as entrepreneurs. The way in which we do that is by selling coffee and supporting what we do or through our different projects. That is our why. And defining that is very important because in that way, we don't waste or we don't invest time in things that are not aligned with our purpose, right?
Okay.
And that is a purpose that we've come to define after a lot of experiences in quality, fermentation and doing a lot of things that at the end of the day maybe were interesting for the industry, but we're not as connected with what we wanted to do and the impact that we wanted to create with what we're doing, right?
Okay.
So that became our bigger mission, right?
I like what you said there. It's interesting to the industry, but it doesn't align with what's best long term for the farmers, which your higher purpose is this regenerative agriculture. The way that we farm coffee has to change. Talk to a little bit about the misalignment of industry is interested in this. So naturally you say, well, if they're interested, we should do it. But how did you come to the conclusion that actually pursuing that's not going to help the farmer? We have to make our own path and not just rely on what's popular.
So actually what we found out, Chris, maybe 5-6 years ago, is that this was something that the industry or people were not interested in yet. And that's why sometimes we are trying to present ideas of things that we think should be the future of coffee and hopefully make it popular. And that is our goal, right? Let's make regenerative farming cool, interesting.
Yeah.
Let's make it, let's try to help people understand it. Let's try to do something at origin that is very different, because when you start doing things that are different, it's hard, right? People don't know of it. Producers maybe don't even know how to implement this at the farms. So it's a whole journey to position a new movement.
Okay.
And at the same time to try to present it to end consumers so that they understand it and they feel like this is cool. I should support this because this is what is right for our industry.
Yes.
And that is the goal, right?
It's a big goal. So what is the reason? Why is that the higher purpose, regenerative farming?
So the first reason is that at the pace of what we are seeing in climate change, there's many different things that can be done, but this is one that we think is going to help farms be much more resilient to climate change and be prepared to the heavy droughts or the frosts as we've seen them in Brazil. And of course, this is something that we have in the last 5 years we've experienced it, right? The Brazilian frost a few years ago skyrocketed the sea market, and sadly was because of climate impact. And we're seeing it in our farms as well, like in the Sierra Nevada. Last year in our Del Agua farm, we had a lot of problems because of climate conditions. So I think that is why that is so important to pursue, because it can really create impact for producers.
Mm-hmm.
Some studies say that at the pace of climate change, unfortunately, we only have 50 harvests left. And when you put it in that perspective, to us, that becomes that's the priority. everything else that we did to build the industry, I think is very important as well. Quality, the fermentations, traceability, all of these things. But to me, this becomes like the number one priority.
Yeah.
Right? Or else we're not going to have an industry.
What can you define regenerative farming?
Absolutely. So regenerative farming are practices that help, as the word says, to regenerate specifically the soil, for example, is where we are focused. And the way in which we are doing it right now is through biochar, which is a beautiful input that we create that can then go into the soil to remove carbon emissions, put them in the soil, replace external inputs and external compost.
Yeah.
Increase the cationic exchange capacity of the soil, water retention. So this is just one of the practices that is part of regenerative farming. There are others like remove tilling, and this is more in bigger monoculture farms, cover crops, and all of these help to reestablish the soil, bring more biodiversity. So there's many different practices, but at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is recover the soil.
Okay.
Yes.
And that helps the harvest, that helps the quality, that helps sustainable, you're going to have a more sustainable work for everybody on the farm because the farm itself is now more sustainable.
Absolutely. You're also going to be specifically with climate change, for example, when you have eroded soils that are compacted because they've been receiving chemical inputs, because people have been removing cover crops, heavy rains just flood the farms, for example.
Yeah.
This is one that is you can see it very easily. Small-scale farms that haven't had these type of practices, when it starts raining heavily, they just get flooded.
Okay.
So when you recover the soil with practices like biochar, water retention is much better. So then the soil actually has the capacity to receive that water and then is more prepared for this, right? The same as cover crops like forests. When you see these farms that are just monocultives exposed, there's not a lot of chance to receive the amount of water.
Yeah.
So that is another reason.
There's not structure in the soil. You get mudslides. Years ago, Honduras had a really, really bad mudslide in some of those farms.
Yeah, I remember Benjamin Paz, who is a good friend in Honduras, had a big effect on that. A few years ago.
So what is it that has led to the stripping of the soil, the poor farming practices? How did it get to that point?
Well, I think from a very, looking at this from 25,000 feet above, I think all this pressure of we need to produce more coffee, more production, higher production, because, for example, in Colombia, coffee farming is trying to compete with Brazil or Vietnam. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Brazil has very different geographical conditions than Colombia. It's much more flat. You have bigger farms where you can put mechanical collection, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have these cars that come in, move the tree very similar
I've
to
seen those. Crazy.
olive oil.
Yep.
We cannot do that in Colombia. We have big mountains. We have 3 mountain ranges going in. So seeing Colombia as a country that needs to compete against that is very challenging. And I think that has all of that mindset of higher productivity, and putting all that pressure has led us here.
Okay.
Because people have removed other crops to plant coffee. There's a lot of sadly chemicals going in that were marketed to increase the production, increase productivity. And I think that the soil is also telling us we need to stop.
Yeah.
Right? We need maybe to change things. It's not only about high productivity and more productivity. Let's focus on quality, incorporating other products. And then when you see that in the supply chain, it's the same. We've wanted to incorporate other crops in our product, but the problem is that when you see the food supply chain, it works in the same way.
Yeah.
So if you want to put coffee next to maybe another 5 products in a container, the system doesn't work like that. because sometimes coffee cannot go with another crop, or
Yeah.
so everything is built, sadly, or not everything, but most of things are built to move one product through one supply chain, right?
Yeah.
And all of that is the reflection that we see in producing countries.
So increasing the variety of what you can do on the land, and then changing people's minds to not pursue volume and to pursue quality more. That's got to be pretty difficult when they've relied upon the idea that if we produce more, we can sell more. That's a guaranteed paycheck versus what you're saying, because you've seen the whole supply chain
Yeah.
at every echelon of the business, and you're coming back and saying this is a legitimate path. Now, for them, they might not see it because they haven't seen as much of the industry as you've had. So how do you convince them?
So that's a great question. It's the biggest challenge that we have in Colombia with a company of our group called Biodiversal. So
Okay.
what Biodiversal does is approach these groups, which we call these clusters, and experiments on a farm that we have on Biodiversal to see what works with coffee. Try different products and then approach coffee producers and say, hey, let's try this, and let's also share the risk. So I'll give you examples. We tried, the first product that we tried was red kidney beans. Why? It is a commodity. It is less risky. It is a product that many farmers understand, and it is a cover crop. So we started to plant red kidney beans with coffee. So now you have coffee, it's a 9-month cycle, and you have red kidney beans, which is a 3-month cycle. So the cash flow is different. It's a cover crop. So it's a regenerative product that is going into a coffee farm with a different cycle. It is a commodity, so the market is easier. You can sell it in the local town as well as coffee.
Okay.
Then we also tried yuca or cassava. It's a root plant. It's very good to open the ground. It's a commodity as well, so we can sell it in the market. You can create starch from that. So we have failed as well many times, taking the risk as well to try to figure out in these collaborations with producers what are other products that we can produce. And the last one that we did, and that's the one that we are pursuing the most, is biochar production. Biochar is very interesting because through biochar we can produce carbon bonds. And that is a very interesting market that is very connected with the tech companies that are trying to offset their emissions.
Okay.
So that is less of a commodity. So at the end of the day, our full cycle, which I know sounds a little bit different to what maybe you were expecting, is we build clusters of 100 farmers. We bring the equipment and the technology to help them produce biochar. We teach them, we give them the tools. We have ovens. And then when farmers prune their crops and they have the wood waste, we burn it with pyrolyzers, or we don't burn it, we pyrolyze it. We create biochar with them. We share the technology. They incorporated that in the farms, and then we have a third party that verifies that, and we have certified carbon bonds that we can sell in the market.
Oh.
That is a full cycle of regenerative farming. And then those coffees, we buy them through Equation, our exporting company. And today I'm very honored because we're serving the first ever biochar coffee in our booth. So when you see it, it's a coffee bag of a coffee that tastes really good, but to me it's a 5-year work behind it. So it's really cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Man. And so it's an interesting thing to know all of the backstory of something, a 5-year process, and all of the work that we want to be educated about, but we each have our specialty within the supply chain. Now, people here at CoffeeFest who hear you talk about this, and they hear us talking now on this podcast, now they're going to ask, well, what can we do to help promote this? Now, you could be a roaster or a retailer, but you're separated. They're not you. They don't have the connection, but they're separated so far that maybe they feel they can't do anything. But what would you tell them? How could they help?
Well, the first thing that they can do is to start talking about this. I think regenerative farming in coffee is newer. It's a little bit newer. We've seen it. There's a certification now. It started to get popular, right? So if people talk about this, and create awareness. I think that's the first goal is create awareness. Let's talk about this. Let's also understand that this is not something that can happen from one day to the other. Because at farming level, it is a challenge that we are navigating as well, right?
Yeah.
Talking with farmers about this, changing the mindset of coffee producers as well is very tricky. And we've seen this in documentaries like Kiss the Ground, right? Regenerative farming in the US is also a big challenge. Go talk to producers that have been doing extensive monoculture for years and convince them about regenerative practices. It's also a challenge at every step. So I think the first thing that people can do is talk about this, create awareness about this topic, and maybe invite even their local roaster or coffee shop. Hey, have you heard about regenerative farming?
Yeah.
Right? It can be connected with quality. So awareness would be the first one that I think could be the start.
That's good. Yeah. And we can all do that because you're having conversations with your importers all the time. You also, by the way, I want to mention, we all like to order coffees. I think hopefully we all like to order coffees from other roasters and taste what's out there, what's possible. Mail order to your house coffees. Maybe seek out biochar or regenerative farming. It's just all the things that you've just talked about. I'm guessing that people who do participate as roasters that sell that product will tell you because that's part of the differentiator. So you can know that your purchase is actually helping that cycle and expanding that process of more farms. So, Sebastian, it's been great to talk to you. And obviously this is kind of a teaser, I think, because we could talk a lot more about this.
Yes, Chris, it's a long story with a lot of elements. That's why I think it is so complex. And in Futura, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is offer very high quality product, which is what we have been doing for so many years, but with a purpose, which is helping small-scale coffee farmers transition into regenerative farming, hopefully making it cool, because I think people are a little bit skeptical sometimes when it comes to what we've seen of greenwashing. So that is a challenge, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully people can see it and support us.
Yeah, that's a good word. Greenwashing and don't become cynical.
Yeah.
Keep looking into it, support what you can, and this is definitely something that people can get behind. So where can we learn more? How can we stay plugged in, like social media, websites?
So we have, of course, in Futura, we try to promote it as much as possible. We also have a new website, which is called Coffee Biochar, because we want to hopefully lead this movement and make a lot of awareness around this. So we're going to be sharing a lot of content about what we're doing. How are we doing it at Origin? And with all our companies, in Equation, we have a full website on the biochar program in Equation. It's a new product line that we just released. It's called Coffee Biochar.
Very simple.
So people can understand, this coffee comes from these clusters where biochar is being incorporated to record the soil.
Love it.
Yep.
Man, thank you for being here. Thanks for all the work you're doing to make coffee better. Great.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor, and I'm excited to continue listening to everything that you are also trying to promote.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Well, I hope that was inspirational for you. There's so much passion. And of course, this is with a direct connection to what's happening on the farm level and knowing what's possible on the greater stage of coffee and combining those two things and creating a model which shortens the distance between those relationships, creates a better future for coffee. And that is what Futura Coffee Roasters is all about. Roasting coffee both in Portland and at Origin makes a big difference. And if you want more information about what's going on there, taste their coffees, learn the story a little bit more, go to the website futuracoffeeroasters.com, and you'll be plugged into that whole world and gain more inspiration and insight as to how this whole thing works and how you can support what's happening here. So huge thank you again to Sebastian for being on the show. Now, we finally come to our last interview here with a local coffee professional and inspiration, and that is Jie Jaing, who is the founder and owner of Less and More Coffee. And one of the things that they're known for is very unique and storytelling beverages. Now, Ryan is Korean born and was raised in China. He was moved to the States in 2012. He's been in the specialty coffee industry for 14 years. He started Less and More Coffee in 2021, and it's known for their signature drinks, like I just said, things like tiramisu latte, black sesame latte, enjoy me latte, etc. And they're all inspired by Ryan's background and culture. So if you've been a listener to Founder Fridays or to other episodes of the show related to signature beverages and such, you'll know that this kind of falls right in line with the idea that what we want is something rooted in the unique story of what we are and who we are and where we are. And that is what Ryan is doing. So as we talk with Ryan about his history in coffee, we move quickly to the idea of what it takes to create a beverage that tells a story. So get inspired, listen to Ryan. Here we go. Here's my interview with Ryan Jie Jaing.
Ryan, welcome to Keys to the Shop.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you. So you're giving a talk that I'm thinking, this is one of the things that people really focus on here at CoffeeFest.
Yes.
And differentiation is a huge thing. We always want, our coffee shop is unique. And part of the way that you jump into being unique is you have to tell a story. And so I know that's a big part of what you're going to be doing when you're speaking tomorrow here at CoffeeFest. And it comes from a lot of just your story, getting into coffee, your culture, and things like that. So as a barista for now, what is it? Almost 20 years? 20 years? Like in coffee, you've been a barista for just about 2 decades?
14 years.
14 years. It might as well be 2 decades. Yeah. But you've learned a lot about what the industry has to offer, enough to be able to offer something unique. What led you to the point to start Less and More? And what kinds of things did you say, I want people to experience this in my shop?
So I started Less and More Coffee by the age of 33. It was already kind of late comparing to all the friends that we started together.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do it right. And I wanted to do it something special and unique that other coffee shops don't offer. I mean, I've been in specialty coffee industry for, by that time, 11 years. But what can I bring to the audience or, consumers here that other coffee shop, specialty coffee shop don't serve?
Yeah.
And then I think that my background, my culture, Korean, born and raised in China, I can offer something that my childhood desserts influenced or inspired. I can make it to the drink. So I come up with, enjoy me latte, which is Korean traditional rice cake dessert that we used to eat growing up. Inspired by that, I made a cream on top of the coffee.
Yeah.
So it's like toasty, savory, sweet, and umami taste. And everyone loved it. And so the storytelling is what I'm aiming for. By one cup of coffee, people can feel emotionally and, receiving the story that I wanted to deliver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the creation of these signature drinks being so deeply rooted in your culture then has to also be something that customers like drinking. Right. So, and I think this is, and we've said this on the show before, culturally rooted, meaningful experiences on the menu are something that's actually what customers are looking for. They want a unique experience, right? They want something consistent, but they also want it to taste good.
Right.
How much experimentation did you have to do to create a drink that's unique enough to stand out, but tasty enough to be bought all the time?
So the most important part is you have to know your consumer first.
Okay.
Your neighborhood, where your consumer is from. So most of the coffee shop that I have in downtown Portland, most of the office people during the weekdays, I get a lot of tourists, and then I'm not really good at promoting or doing advertisement.
Okay.
So I truly believe in the quality, word of mouth promotion. If my product is good, my presentation, the quality is good, people will post it on Instagram if it's pretty and tastes good. But I test and experiment a lot with our staffs and also the customers. Even it's not on the menu, I start giving it for free to the customers, the regulars especially. They can give us honest opinion. So I try different, for example, for like flavors. There's so many different sweetness, the like texture of sweetness.
Yeah.
Vanilla, flavorful, vanilla beans, like sugar, brown sugar. So many, condensed milk, maple syrup, agave. So you test out with the best combination of the sweetness and what, like, balance is really important too.
Oh, okay.
So, and you get to know your coffee better. So what roasting level you're roasting and what best like sweetness flavor that you're combining with. So all this combination, experiment, and the ratio, espresso milk ratio, and the flavor that you want to do, and the story behind it. So I do a lot of experiment with staff and the customer by giving out free coffee. And then I collect all the data and then start serving it to, first-time customer as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And just collecting all the data. And if customer don't like it, then you have to throw it away.
Oh, no. Has that ever happened?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Fingers crossed, right?
Finger crossed.
Okay. Well, I mean, by your description, it's a pretty sure bet by the time you've done all the experimenting, the intentionality, testing with your staff, knowledge of your customer. If you serve it on the bar, like that would be weird if people didn't like it because everything you did was all around what you already know they like. Like you've built it around their feedback, right? Mm-hmm. What is it that you learn about? You said you learn about your coffee. And when people do signature drinks, you see sugars being added. You see cream. You see ingredients. Oh, but those are distractions from coffee. So it's how could you get to know your coffee better if you're masking the coffee, if you're putting stuff in it?
Right.
And so what do you mean by knowing my coffee better? Like the interactions between the flavors?
Right. So really good question. So if you're really confident about your coffee, you shouldn't ruin your coffee, right? So by not adding too much flavor or strong spices to your coffee, we had maybe 1 out of 100 customer complained about, I don't taste too much coffee or something. But most of the time, I figured out that they changed a little bit of ratio.
Yeah.
I want less ice. I want, single shot or. So whenever I design and create the signature menu, everything is, I try not to recommend customer to customization on the drink or especially on the signature drinks.
Okay.
So it's carefully designed by all the ratio and the sweeteners.
It's like a chef.
Some people, can I substitute with maybe like stronger flavor sweetener?
Okay.
Every signature drink has a different sweetener, by not affecting the coffee flavor too much. Mm-hmm. So we test a lot of different ingredients.
That makes sense. And people do this already with non-signature beverages, which are the standard like flavored lattes. They say, I want so many shots of espresso. I want so many, I want 8 shots of espresso in this iced drink. And you say, well, that's going to be a warm drink. Like there's a lot of hot liquid or whatever you're adding to it.
And it's melting down and watered down.
Yeah,
the espresso
yeah.
flavor by ice.
You're not alchemists. You can't actually change physics in order to accommodate these requests. So when you are giving people these drinks and they're used to customizations,
Right.
they have come from Starbucks or they've
Right,
come from
right.
other places. How do you, in a hospitality kind of way, like focused and tactful, let them know that it's best as it is, and that there may be a bad thing that happens if you switch this for a different kind of milk or sweetener?
Right. So that's the hardest part in customer service and hospitality, by not offense them, their mood, or respectfully, not educating them, but just recommending, you can try our version first. And then if you don't like it, we can remake it.
That's very generous. Yeah.
Yeah. We always train staff that, because we're confident about our products and we carefully created and designed the menu.
Yeah.
So we're pretty confident. But amount of sweetener or ratio, we can adjust a little bit, but substitute with totally different sweetener or ratio, it's not recommending. So we just recommend customer to try our version first, and then if they still don't like it, or we can do something else.
It takes the danger away, because these are expensive drinks too, compared to the other menu items.
Right, exactly.
Another question I have here is around training, or not training, but when you're making the drink, how much detail do you put into, or what's done to make sure it's actually able to be made in a timely manner? The workflow that goes into it. I'm sure you've had ideas that are, well, I can't really put that on my bar because it would take too long to make it.
Right.
But there are things that do take a little bit more time that's acceptable for a signature drink. So how do you set up the workflow for a signature drink where it's something that the staff won't feel like they're being punished when they have to make it?
Right. We used to sell breakfast burrito.
Oh.
When I used to work for Andante Coffee.
Yeah.
Every time customer order breakfast burrito in the morning, someone has to go to the kitchen and smash the eggs, and it takes like at least 6 minutes, and you have to, in the kitchen. And every time it's just so stressful. I'm not enjoying working as a barista at the moment.
Yeah.
From that experience, I try to make every signature drink as fast as possible and simple as possible, but delicious. So, like making big batch of cream for each signature drink every morning, that helps. And just pulling shots, pour, syrup, ice, milk, shots, cream, and garnish. So if it takes more than 6 steps for a signature drink, I think that's not very efficient.
Okay.
And every single signature drink has to be made under 3 minutes per drink. You're not only your customer is not only like ordering signature drinks. There's so many people that orders other drinks that supposed to be faster. So not affecting their time receiving their drink, but at the same time efficiently, produce signature drink.
Yeah,
that's very important. So if it takes more than 5 minutes for signature drink, I just don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to appreciate the practical stuff.
Right.
And the ideal. You want to tell a story.
Right.
You want it to be meaningful.
Right.
That doesn't mean it has to be impossible
right.
to make.
Right.
And so it's the customer is going to order lots of the thing that it doesn't necessarily look like the baristas are really struggling to make. And to your point, I've seen it where baristas will undersell beverages that they don't want to make, right? You and I have both been there. We're just like, do you really want that? And we would love for them to have whatever they want. So you got to set your bar up the right way, the
right.
drinks and the ingredients.
Right.
So my last question here is around first steps for a coffee bar who wants to take what they feel is a menu that's working right now, but they want to incorporate something that's a little bit more signature, meaningful, but practical. How should they go about doing that?
I think you have to discuss and with your staff.
Yeah.
Are you gonna be stressed if you're doing 6-step signature drink when you're multitasking with, not affecting making the downgrade the quality of other drinks? So it's communication to the team members. Everyone has to be happy by doing what they do at the shop. Don't forget why we're doing this. We don't make a shit ton of money by doing barista. We do it for passion. One day we're going to have our brand and our coffee shop. So you have to be, happy to serve and come to work, serving coffee, talk to customer. So communication is important.
Yeah.
It's the key. Communicate with your staff. Don't do anything that they're not happy to do.
Okay.
So simplify all the steps, but not downgrading the quality. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. No, that's great advice.
Yeah.
Ryan, where can we learn more about Less and More?
Where?
Yeah, where like Instagram, like what's your handle?
So all the Instagram page is mostly created by videos or created by the customer. I'm just reposting it.
Oh, okay, great.
But it's Less and More Coffee.
Yeah,
simple. But yeah, I'm more focused on the daily based customer, and I want to, but I will do more about social media stuff in the future. I'll try.
Nice.
Less and More Coffee.
Yeah, go to the cafe for the experience.
Yes, please. If you're in Portland downtown, please visit Less and More.
Okay, Ryan, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, everyone. Well, I hope that inspired you to look at your own menu and think about how you can take the principles that Ryan was talking about and put them into what you create for the customer, making it realistic, but making it unique, finding that balance, rooted, deep, meaningful. It's just, it's the only way. It's the only way, meaningfully. So, but Ryan, thank you so much for being on the show. If you all want to know more information about Ryan and Less and More Coffee, go to their website, lessandmorecoffee.us. You could also go and probably should go and follow them on Instagram, which is at Less and More Coffee. So thank you, Ryan, one more time. Now, if you have any questions or feedback or comments about these episodes, go ahead and send them to me, chris@keystotheshop.com. And that's also where you can reach out if you're interested in just connecting and asking questions about consulting, like key holder coaching groups memberships, or anything really. So it's just my name, CHRIS @keystotheshop.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the show, of course. I hope to see you at one of these CoffeeFest events. Go to coffeefest.com to sign up. Thanks, everybody. And as always, I truly hope that this episode has given you keys to the shop.